What is the difference between narcissistic supply and getting your needs met? And sometimes this gets confused, and a lot of times people are not sure what is actually real or what is actually true. So let me ask you a couple questions. Like, do you feel like you're constantly giving into someone else who like never seems to appreciate or reciprocate, whatever you're giving? Okay. Do you feel like you're struggling to be able to understand like the motivations behind the loved one's behavior, like the person in your life? Like, I don't actually understand where they're coming from. And do you want to know the difference between healthy relationships and those driven by narcissistic supply? Okay, well, what we're going to talk about today is exploring the concept of narcissistic supply, the motivations behind it, and how it differs from getting your needs met in a healthy relationship. If you can understand like this key difference, it can help you actually recognize and to be able to navigate the toxic relationship, understanding the truth of the situation, and then how to be able to set boundaries to protect yourself from emotional harm, from emotional trauma. Okay. If you guys are new here, my name is Ben Taylor. I'm a self-aware narcissist on this channel to provide awareness about narcissistic abuse. So for people to understand what is actually going on and how to get free. If you're curious about understanding more about narcissistic personality disorder, narcissistic abuse, you can go to escapetoxicity.com. You can click the link down below. There's a 7-day challenge on there for $7. It's a way for us to be able to get into your world and environment to help you understand the things that you've been going through, the struggles that you've been facing, and the confusion of being with a toxic person. So check that out, escapetoxicity.com. When we're talking about this aspect of supply, now I need to make a little addendum, I guess, here at the very beginning. A lot of times when we talk about supply, we'll use that in the form of talking about another person, okay? As far as like you were a supply to the narcissist. Okay. While a lot of times that's accurate, a lot of times it's also offensive to a lot of people. So I need to make sure you understand. I'm not calling people supply as in that's how I view them. Okay. That is how I used to view them. And that is how I used to view people before I started to work on gratitude and being grateful and appreciative. That is the way we phrase it because that is how it looks in a narcissistic person's mind of like, this person is giving me supply. Okay, so what is narcissistic supply? Let's break it down a little bit. Narcissistic supply is like this term to describe the attention, the admiration, the adulation, the like seeking of getting something from another person that a narcissist craves in that moment. A lot of times it's to be able to sustain like my sense of self-worth. Okay, so like I want supply from you. I want you to adore me. I want to get validated by you so that I feel better about myself. Now, a lot of times a narcissist doesn't seem like they need to feel better about themselves, right? Like they're so confident. They're so like, oh, like I'm the best thing ever. But really, there's a giant bit of insecurity and shame that's underneath the surface that they're constantly hiding. And so there's this need for like validation. If I want to get validated of who I actually am when I'm not actually that person. This is why a lot of times the mask gets built and formed. So a narcissist has a mask of like, this is who I am, where this is really who I am behind the mask. Okay. And so the narcissist like, validate my mask, make me feel better about my mask when that's not actually who I am. Okay. But that's the piece is a lot of times narcissist wants that supply. The attention, the adoration, like the aspect of like worship. Like I want you to worship me. Like that's the thought process. So in relationships, a lot of the people that I cheated with, okay, when I was with my wife and cheated on other people, like cheated with her, like whatever, you figured it out, okay? Like there was an aspect that those people, like I wanted in my life because they adored me. Because they thought I was the best. And so I was like, well, my wife doesn't think I'm the best. These other people don't think this person thinks I'm the best, so therefore they must be the right person for me, right? Like there's this idea of like they actually like care. They actually like worship. They actually love. Like all these things get switched around in my mind to make me feel better about myself. All it was pumping up ego. Okay, so when we talk about this aspect of supply, attention, admiration, a lot of times we also put it interchangeably with the other person of like, hey, you were supply. You were providing attention, admiration, worship, so therefore you were supply. Okay, not degrading the person, but saying this is the style, this is the thing that are actually happening. Okay, so narcissists seek out narcissistic supply to fulfill emotional needs, right? To boost the ego, to maintain a grandiose sense of self, to say like, hey, I'm all that because this person makes me feel this way. Okay, so you see this with the grandiose side of oftentimes a person who constantly wants to be praised, of like validated and feel good about themselves. Sometimes this is at the expense of your needs, at the expense of how you feel. Like it doesn't matter how you feel, but you should be paying attention to me. Sometimes you'll see this come out in like sickness of like, you're sick and they're like, why aren't you paying attention to me? Like, why aren't my needs getting met? Like you see this when you have a baby of like, you have a kid and they're like, that kid is in the way of me. Now they're not going to say that, but that's how the actions are going to come across. Okay. So there's this aspect of narcissistic supply. Then we have this aspect of getting your needs met. Now, side note that we need to be able to say with this. A lot of times a narcissist will tell you that the reason why they cheated is because he wasn't getting his needs met. Okay? So there's this piece here that I need to put in the middle just as like side note so you understand. That's a bunch of BS, okay? That's the easiest way to put it. A narcissist that says, hey, I'm not getting my needs met, which is why I cheated, is really saying like, hey, I didn't want to show up honest and vulnerable in the relationship, but I'd rather go to find someone else for sex to make me feel better about myself. Okay, that is a coward and not even a man that's showing up in your life right now that's saying like, I left because I just wasn't getting my needs met. Just FYI, those needs that he's trying to have are not necessarily for life. You know, it's not like drinking water or like eating food, but it'll make you feel that way. Of like, you are depriving me of the one thing in life that I had to have to be able to survive. And all of it is just this BS, okay? So you need to understand, like, it's not that. There's a lot of other reasons, but it's not that reason. Narcissists will tell you that so they feel better about themselves. Feel better about themselves that they cheated on you. Okay. All right. So when we're talking about our needs getting met, I want to actually be able to talk about your needs getting met in a healthy relationship, like what this looks like. Now, when we're talking about getting needs met, it means that both parties, okay, both people are actually in a give and a receive. Now, give and receiving love, support, validation. Like this is the person that is being honest, being vulnerable, showing consistent change. Like this is actually a healthy relationship. So the difference, okay, when we're talking about this, the motivation is different than just someone getting something from you, extracting value, but it's actually both are inputting value. You might have heard the phrase of the idea of like, it's not just that in a marriage or in a relationship that everybody is like, it's 50-50. It's 100, it's 100. Like both people are actually investing in the other person. Both people are actually giving themselves to the other person. It's not just like, I'm just going to take what I want out of it, which is typically narcissistic supply. So in this aspect, both partners in the healthy relationship, they seek to meet each other's emotional needs and support each other in how they're growing, changing, healing, and developing. Okay. And so it's important to be able to see there's a difference. Typically, narcissistic supply is all one-sided. It's like pulling it from you, where when we're talking about having your needs met, there's this combination of the two of you working together. You typically won't find this happening in a narcissistic relationship because they don't want to work with you, especially with your emotions, especially with your needs, because those are an inconvenience to oftentimes what they want. Now, you sometimes have the covert narcissist that's going to placate to those needs, that's going to give you what you want in those moments, because if I do this, it will make me look better, which means you will praise me, which gives me the admiration. All of it goes back. Okay, so you have to understand it's still cyclical, like back to the narcissist. So as we talk about this, what's the main differences like between the two? So the main differences between the two is the narcissistic supply and getting your needs met is that the former one is one-sided. Okay, it's driven solely by the narcissist's need for validation and for control. While the latter is reciprocal, like the relationship is actually built on mutual trust, mutual respect, mutual love. It's actually working together. But a lot of times people want to switch this around and make it feel like, wait a second, like I'm only getting half. Okay, so you need to understand with the supply, we're talking about it in a toxic environment. Okay, it's draining, it's ultimately unsatisfying. Like while getting your needs met in healthy relationship brings joy, it brings fulfillment, it brings long-term happiness because the motivation is different. This is why a lot of relationships with a narcissist will never peter out to actually being something successful. One, because the narcissist is shallow, has a mask, manipulating, controlling. But then two, because what they're doing is they're just trying to extract value from you. A lot of times people will feel this way. You've probably felt this way in the relationship where it feels like someone is like leeching off of you, almost like a vampire effect. They're sucking the life out of you in so many different ways because what they want is more important than what you want. So you need to ask yourself, when you're in this type of relationship, am I with someone that's actually demonstrating love, respect, care, kindness, loyalty, honesty? The list goes on and on forever. Because you want to be able to find a person and be in a relationship where it's actually working together. A narcissist is typically going to come back to you for supply, is going to keep using it for supply when you keep giving that supply. And so you need to be able to take a step back, and it's not just because, oh, I'm just such an empathetic person and I love this person so much. It's no, you actually don't have a proper view of you and a proper view of your own self-love. So as a result, you keep giving and giving and giving and giving and not getting anything in return. Now, it doesn't mean that you're just, only giving to get, vice versa, but there has to be a working together. There has to be this combination of the relationship that's actually helping you progress and move forward. If you don't see that, then you're not in a relationship. You're in a pipe dream. You're living a lie, a fantasy, instead of actually reality. Like, part of what we try to do inside of Raw Motivations is help you get free of the mental cage that you're stuck in. There's a version of you that is stuck in a cage that can't get out. And those are limiting beliefs. Those are trauma bonds. Those are the idea of that person is going to change and come back and be there for you. All these things that you have to be able to break free before you can even break free physically or financially from that toxic person. If you're not sure where to start today, you can go to escapetoxicity.com, sign up for the 7-day challenge, and start your healing process. Understand it is a process. It is a journey. We're not going to get you healed in 7 days, okay? But we are starting that process to educate you of what's going on, how narcissism looks, what reactive abuse looks like, what the shame and the guilt that you feel right now for being with that person or being with that person so long. How do we start processing that? How do we start breaking the bond of being stuck to a toxic person? If you want to work with me one-on-one in an accelerated environment, you can go to rawmotivations.com. You can click on the one-on-ones there. I'd love to be able to talk to you, or maybe if you're a good fit, you could join our Thriver community to actually be able to help you maximize who you are, achieve your goals, and move forward every single day. Thanks so much, and y'all have a great day.